So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. We'll get back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, January 13th. Always having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, January 13th. It is, in fact, the start of the NHL season. Today is the start of the 2021 NHL season. It is very exciting. I'm very excited. Obviously, the New York Rangers and the Islanders and the Devils and things like that do not play today, but they do all play tomorrow. Rangers will play tomorrow. I have a special preview on it tomorrow. I'll be doing the special preview like a kind of a season preview in a way, and then like a little bit of give you run over the roster, a little bit of a season preview, obviously the game pick, and kind of give you, what I'm expecting this season out of the New York Rangers, what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping for. Obviously, I'm hoping for a Stanley Cup, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't have that high expectations, although I think playoffs is possibly in reach. I think playoffs is a possibility. I don't think they're completely out of reach, but I will tell you this, 2 years from now, I think we would be a true contender, and maybe Stanley Cup could be in the equation from about 2 years from now. But at the moment, we are still developing some of these young guys. We got one of the best farm systems in hockey, and we're making way. Obviously, just about 2 years ago is when we started to strip this thing down. We had a really terrible year. Then obviously last year had a little bit of a rough year. We still made the bubble and stuff, but other than that, we're kind of struggled in the bubble, got swept, and then now we're sitting here today, 1 day away from Rangers hockey, and today we got 3 games on today, or actually 5 games on today. I'm sorry, 5 games on today. You got the Penguins Flyers that will kick off the season, first game on. Then you got the Canadiens and Maple Leafs. Then you have the Blackhawks, Lightning, Canucks, Oilers, and then to cap it all off, the nightcap will be the Blues and the Avalanche. So we got 5 very good games on today. I will definitely be watching probably the first one. The second one will probably get cut off with the Nets game, so I'll probably watch maybe the first little bit of the second one. But for the most part, I will definitely probably catch the entire first game. That's on NBC, so nationally televised. So I'm pretty sure most of you should probably get it. It's on NBC. That is the Penguins and the Flyers, 2 teams that are coming into this year with very high expectations as well. So we'll get into that. But yeah, it is the NHL season, so you know what that means. I said this yesterday, going to say it again today. Nets and Kentucky. Nets won last night, got a very good win. Kentucky did not, but I'll cover that all up today. We'll talk about all that today. But to start off the podcast today, I'll do the NHL Power Rankings. We'll give you all that good stuff. Give you the top 10 teams, tell you Rangers and Islanders where I would place them. Spoiler, I don't have the Rangers and Islanders in the top 10. Rangers, definitely not. Islanders, I was close, but I was kind of, look at the numbers, look at the odds, things like that. You kind of would sit there and say, no, the Islanders are at the moment probably not a top 10 team. So that's it. So I'll give you that. Fantasy hockey as well. I'm going to do a special first day fantasy hockey preview, tell you who you should say, who you should start. And to be honest, as many players as you could start. If you have an option where if you have a player where you have 2 of the same player, or you don't have enough forward spots, you could put one of your utility. But I'll give you all that stuff, tell you who's playing tonight for me. And I thought this was an interesting story, and I thought, I had another spot to talk about it, so I was thinking about, what, maybe I should just do this. The NFL had its highest scoring season this year, I think, of all time. So I kind of want to talk about it. There's about 3 to 4 reasons I want to tell you why and how I think it could possibly be the case. I know there's been a lot of speculation, but I have about 3 to 4 reasons on how the highest scoring season could be. There's a couple of reasons. Fans are in one of them, but I'll tell you why. I thought it was an interesting story. Thought it'd be something cool to talk about. So we'll get into that. Then the final topic's packed. We got college basketball, Kentucky, NBA, Nets, Knicks, fantasy baseball, fantasy basketball. And then NHL game picks. I'll be doing those as well later on in the podcast. As a matter of fact, I don't know quite what I want to do. I was thinking about putting them up at the NHL Power Rankings, just doing them then. But I decided, you know what, I do all my game picks later on, so I'll just do that. So the NHL is today. 5 games on today, kicking off the 2021 NHL season. Obviously, as an NHL fan, I've been waiting. I was hoping that this season would start up right around the NBA season. That was not the case. But we're here, January 13th, and we're sitting here today. We got hockey on today, so that is a very exciting thing, and I'm very excited. So with all that being said, those would be the topics for the podcast today. Let's get this. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So I'm going to reveal the NHL Power Rankings, where every team stands ahead of the 2020-21 season. Technically, it's the 2021 season. I know a lot of people are saying the 2020 season, but technically it is 2021 and the season's starting now. So technically 2021 season, I will tell you where every team stands. I do this every single year. I tell you why a team's here. I tell you why a team is in that spot. I tell you why I think they're there. And that's kind of just how it is. And then at the end of the year, I'll do this with the NFL as well. I'll probably do it one of these days. I'll pull it out. I'll look at it. I'll be like, wow, this team's on the list, but this team should not be in here. This team's kind of here, right? I'll pull it out. I will pull it out, see what ones I was right about, see what ones I was wrong about, and that kind of stuff. So that's it is. I know a lot of people do their power rankings during the year. They'll make a new one every week. I personally don't. I do mine in the beginning of the year, pull it out at the end of the year, and see what happens. I just think with all the other topics I'm talking about, to make one every single week would just be a little crazy. And I put a lot of thought into the power rankings, so I just figured, you know what, to make one every single week for as many weeks as the season goes on, I just don't find. I was thinking about doing an NFL playoff power rankings, but in a way, I kind of do that when you make your bracket, because that's kind of like, okay, here are your top teams. Okay, well, now this is the next team. This is the best team. Like, whoever you predict to win the Super Bowl is going to be number one in your playoff power rankings. That's usually how it is. So we'll get into that, and then we'll pull it all out. And like I said, NHL Fantasy Hockey will also be there as well. But it is very exciting. It's very exciting. I have the 10 teams here. I don't do all the teams. I sometimes do, I sometimes don't. I remember I did one time. I don't know what sport it was. I might have did it the last time I did my podcast and stuff. I did like the top 15 teams. But I just find top 10. First off, I take a lot of time with it. So, with the podcast and stuff, I do a lot with it. So I figured, if I do 15 or teams, that would take the entire podcast up, and I have other stuff to talk about as well. So I just figured this would be best. Do the top 10 teams, and we'll get rolling with it. So, I personally, it's kind of tough to say at times. Like I said, the power rankings can be tough at times, because it's kind of, you're just coming into the season. It's the brand new year. It's a brand new season. So, you haven't really seen, and especially in this year, like, that's what makes it even tougher. And this would actually made it tougher with NFL too, is this year you didn't have any of the preseason. So at the times, preseason, you could look at it and be like, okay, this kid or this young guy is going to be good. Okay, this team's going to be pretty solid. This team's first line looked good in the first, 20 minutes that they played or whatever. So obviously that's kind of tough. But here we go. I'm going to get into it here. And let's get into it. I'll give you my top 10 teams, tell you why I put them in each spot, and that's how we go. So here we go. NHL Power Rankings. Let's get started. Number 10, Philadelphia Flyers. Okay. I could put this team, honestly, I could probably put this team out. This was actually, I know it might sound funny. A lot of times it's usually the top 3 teams that you're really like, you're wondering, okay, what's the best team? But I really found this year it was pretty obvious, I think, who's the best team is. And I really found it this year was struggling to find that 10th team. I was between the Oilers, between the Flyers, and I was between the Islanders. It came down to the Flyers and the Islanders, and after looking at the rosters, I felt like the Flyers were the best choice to put here. And let me tell you why, okay? The Flyers are a very good mixed team. They're not too old, they're not too young. They have a very good goaltender who is going for another trophy. They have a very good goaltender who has had an excellent year last year. Coming back this year, I would assume he have another excellent year. Now, I'll tell you what, it does. I hate putting putting the Flyers here because I can't stand the Flyers. I despise them. Obviously, they're huge rivals with the Rangers, so this does hurt putting them at number 10, but it is what it is. But they have a very good team. I mean, you got a mixture of veteran guys and some young guys. You obviously got some younger guys on that team, the goalie. You got some younger guys, guys like that. Some of the younger guys that have come up through their farm system and stuff. You've also had some guys through trades, and you have some older guys like a Claude Giroux, who's been there for a very long time. I don't even know how many years he's been there. He's been there for a very long time. He's been a guy that was actually there, during that time. He was there for a little bit, He was there, he was one of those guys, up and rising guys. The Flyers are very good at that. They always use their farm system has always been used very well. You had Claude Giroux come up and rising star. Now he's been with the team for a very long time now. Some of the other guys in this team too, you have Travis Konecny, another good guy, really good forward, fast skater, can really move the puck well, has good puck movement. Really like his stick handling too. This is also another team too that's a pretty good defending team. So I really felt like this would be a pretty good spot to put him at the number 10. Not too good, not too bad, not number 5, not number 15. I thought they would be right in the middle. They're a mix of young. That's what's scary about this team, is they're still learning, but there's also a lot of guys that are in their prime. That's what's scary about this team. 2-3 years from now, when these young guys are in their prime, this team could be this team could be a bad team to go up against. This team could be a scary team to go up against. And obviously you got a lot of good guys in this team, a lot of guys that have been up and rising stars, and like I said, it's a mix. This team reminds me a little bit of kind of like if you would relate it to like an NFL, almost like a Chiefs. You got some young guys. Kelsey's been in the league for a little bit, Hill's been in the league for a little bit, but then you got Eli and Mahomes, who just new, right? So it's a little bit of a mix of a little bit of everything, which really makes this team so dynamic, is you got a mix, and that's what I really love to see out of teams. Now I hate that it's out of this team because I can't stand the Flyers, but I do definitely think they deserve this number 10 spot. So number 10, Philadelphia Flyers. Number 9. This one I was debating too. Do I put this team higher, or do I keep them where they're at? This team, I think this is a very solid team, but I have number 9, Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay, this is another team too. It's a very older and veteranized team. Pittsburgh Penguins, obviously one of the more winningest teams in all of NHL. One of the more winningest teams in sports. They've had a lot of championships. They've had a lot of success. Not even just championships, just sustained success. Every year they're in the playoffs. Every year they are a contender. Every year they are, they're one of those teams that are, every year they're one of those teams that are at least in the conversation, whether that's on the outside looking in, or they're right in the prime of the conversation. I feel like you cannot talk playoffs without the Pittsburgh Penguins. Every year they're going to be in the playoff talk. Every year they're going to be in the hunt, no matter if they're on the outside looking in or if they're right in the middle of it where they're contenders and stuff. I don't know so much if they're contenders. Sidney Crosby's getting a little older. I do like this team. Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, probably the two real leaders on this team. The two really good players on this team. And like I've always said, I think as much as he can be a dirty player at times, Sidney Crosby will go down as one of the better players of all time. At his position, one of the better forwards of all time, one of the better skaters of all time, and he's on that team, is just so dominant. You also have some of these other younger guys like a Jake Gutsenagel. He's a very good guy. He's a up and rising player. You got a lot of good players on this team when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, but obviously the name that really sticks out to me is Sidney Crosby. One of the best to do it, one of the best to ever step on an ice, one of the best ever to strap up the skates, and he's had a very successful career, and he's still successful. He's getting older. He's not where he used to be, but he's still very up there. And this team can really be scary. You get this team in the playoffs or anytime, you could get this team during a weekday. This team's a scary team. Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby leading the way, number 9, Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 8, Dallas Stars. This team's another star-studded team. Now, their goaltender is out. They got a backup in, but he might not be out for a long time. Their back is going to be in. They got a good goaltender, and they've got 2 very good stars. They got obviously Jamie Benn, who has had a very, very, very successful career with obviously the the Stars, they've also got, obviously, Tyler Seguin, who's also had a very successful career there. This is a team that made the Stanley Cup last season, so this is a team that does not mess around. It's a very good team. It's a veteranized team. This is the problem with this team, though. They're very veteranized. They're very older. These guys have been on this team for a long time. In a couple years from now, they're going to have to start to build up some of those young guys. I really like Jamie Benn. I think he's a very solid player. He's another dude, too, that he's a hard worker, too. He's one of those guys that he's going to take hits. He's going to be that guy that's going to be in there taking hits, lowering shoulder into other guys, stealing the puck, going up the ice, taking hits. He's going to be that kind of team player that's going to take the hits. He's going to take the blows, but he's going to be all right. Dallas Stars, tough and gritty team. Two very good players in Ben and Seguin. Good goalie. Very good team. Really like this Dallas Stars team. I know they made the Stanley Cup last year, and they are ranked 8th. They lost a couple of pieces. They've already had some COVID issues to start this season. 27 positive tests in the NHL. 17 of them were on the Dallas Stars. Could that slow start, could this rough start hurt them in the long run? We'll see. But at the moment, number 8 Dallas Stars. Star-studded team. You see what I said there? Star-studded team, Dallas Stars. Star-studded team, good veterans, good players. Got a lot of guys that these upcoming rising stars, they're going to have a lot of guys to learn from. Number 8 Dallas Stars. Number 7 Boston Bruins. I could put this team right now at number 1 if they were fully healthy, but they're not. They are a very good hockey team when it comes to, you got Brad Marchand, who is probably one of the, I don't want to say, I don't even want to bring that word out there because that's just not good to say because he's not what describes him. I was going to say dirty, but that's not what describes him. Brad Marchand's one of those guys that's going to get up in your face and he's not going to mess around. The Boston Bruins have had this type of team for a very long time now. They have a tough, gritty hockey team. And I'll tell you what, the Bruins made the bubble. They weren't too successful. They obviously got knocked out. But part of that was because Tuukka Rask was not with them. And I think Tuukka Rask is, when he's on, I think he's one of the best goalies in the league. And that's saying something. Maybe only behind Vasilevsky, who I think is probably the best. We'll get to him in a little bit when I get to the Lightning. But I will tell you that Tuukka Rask, if Tuukka Rask was healthy in that bubble, followed by Brad Marchand, that team is a team to beat. This is another scary team. Obviously with Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, another one, probably one of the best forwards in all the league. He's on IR. This is a scary team. That's what I say. If this would be a team right now that would be, I think maybe not top 3 on my list if David Pastrnak was healthy. He's not healthy. He'll come back about mid-February. Obviously, he's got a hip injury. He's got hip injury. I think he might have got surgery. I'm not sure. But he had a hip injury. They say his return's like mid-February, all that stuff. He is obviously on IR, so, who knows when he comes back. It's really whenever they activate him. He's got to come back to practice and stuff. But I'll tell you what, Brad Marchand, Tuukka Rask, and David Pastrnak, the 3-headed monster, that team's scary to beat. If it wasn't for the injuries, I would go ahead and say that. But I'll tell you what, I think if Tuukka Rask was in the bubble, I think the Bruins could have very well won it all there. Because Tuukka Rask, goalie is a big part of your team. You don't have a good goalie, you're done. Goalie's a big part. If you don't have a good goalie, that's my main concern with the Rangers this year. You got 2 goalies. Who's going to be it? It's going to be Georgiev and Shesterkin. Who's going to be it? We obviously don't have Lundqvist anymore. We don't have that sustained guy that's going to every night you could rely on. We now need to move on from him. That could be a little risky. But I'll tell you what, they got the goalie down, they have the defense down, and they got the offense down. And I like Brad Marchand, not a huge fan of him just because he's a Bruin. He can be a little chippy at times. But once again, I feel like every hockey team needs to have that guy. They have that guy that's going to take hits for the team. He's going to go in there. He's going to do the dirty work and come out of there with the puck. And the Boston Bruins are number 7. Number 6, I have the St. Louis Blues. Okay, the Blues, to me, can be very scary. They got a lot of good guys. They got Braden Sheen, obviously, from the St. Louis Blues. This is a St. Louis Blues team, now, if you really think about it. They're only 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup. Last year was not the most successful year for them. Obviously had a lot of up and downs. I think it's another team, too, that could be a little bit of a mix. They got, obviously, Ryan O'Reilly. They got a good goaltender, and they got Braden Sheen. I think they're a good team. I think this is a very good team. I think this team could be... I think this very well could be a team that, down the stretch, when it comes down to some of these big games. That's the one problem with this team. His team is pretty young, and that might be what holding me back from putting them higher. But I just think this team's a lot. This team's really good. I mean, this is only a team that's 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup. It's a team that's had a very, very, very successful run these past couple seasons. And I'll tell you what, man. I don't know what it is, but something about hockey players when they're sometimes older and they've been around the game for a long time. Something about them, they just feel like they play 10 times better at times. Like they've been through everything. They've taken pucks to wherever. They've taken pucks to the leg, taken pucks to the face, whatever. Like that's what this Blues team is at times about. This is a tough, hard-nosed hockey team, and it's a mix. I know I might say it's a lot today, but that is the case in hockey. With all these big rosters, a lot of times these guys are a mix, and hockey is big into using your farm systems. Hockey, a lot of these guys are young, because hockey, too, you got to realize, a lot of these players don't always stick around. Hockey's a tough sport. I mean, hockey is a very rough sport. So a lot of these guys, especially these defensemen who are blocking shots, they may only last like 10 years. They're not going to be like, a baseball player that can play 20. Some of these guys' careers are done in 7, 8 years. So you always have to be replenishing. That's why I find that I'm not saying that purposely. I mean, I'm not saying that, but it is the truth. A lot of these teams are mixed with young and old guys because a lot of these older guys are going to have to retire, and a lot of the older guys, too, they lose it after a while. I mean, they're still on the team, but they're nothing like they used to be. So I really believe that the Blues are like that, and the Blues got a very good goaltender. This is what's crazy about this Blues team. This is almost the same roster that led them to that Stanley Cup. You got O'Reilly, you got Sheen, guys like that. This is almost the same roster. If this same roster can do that, have that proficiency, have that consistency, you will be able to get back there. It's just we've seen glimpses of it, but not consistent enough. That's why it's holding me back from putting them higher. Number 6, St. Louis Blues. Number 5, Toronto Maple Leafs. I think this team next year, very well, final contender or Stanley Cup contender. I think very well. I think that's very possible. Okay, this is a team. Austin Matthews, I think, is probably the third best hockey player in the NHL. Actually, maybe even the second. Probably the third. Probably only behind Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. But without a doubt, I think Austin Matthews is probably the second or the third best hockey player in all the league. I mean, you could make the argument either him or Driscoll from the Ed Oilers, but without a doubt, I think Austin Matthews. I think Austin Matthews very well is the third best hockey player in the team, in the league, and I think that boosts this team so much more. I think that's what really helps this team. They've also got a very good goaltender in Frederik Andersen, a very good goaltender. He's another pretty young one. This is a Maple Leafs team that's a Maple Leafs team that's a good team. This is a solid team. That's a good team, and you got 2 young guys in Frederik Andersen, and then, like I said, once again, you got a more veteranized player in John Tavares, who obviously came over from the Islanders, is now on the Maple Leafs, but you got a young guy in John Tavares who is also a very good player. They got a lot of good. What I noticed about this Maple Leafs team is they share the puck very well, and they've also got a lot of good. They built this team the right way. They got a lot of their inner core players with Anderson, Austin Matthews, and Tavares is very good. Then you get to your second line, it's very good as well. Like, this team is being built the right way. This was a team a couple years ago, laughingstock of the league. They are now finding a way to come back. They've got a solid first line. Their second line's pretty solid. Third line's still being built a little bit. Very soon, this is a team that's going to be a very, very good team. I think this team's going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be very well be a contender this season. I think just the biggest question there is there's been moments where that team shows flashes of greatness, and then there's also moments where that team shows moments where how in the world is this team top 5 or top 10 in the league, right? I think it's just consistency to that team. For the most part, it's consistent, but it's young guys, can they live up to expectations when the games matter most? We've seen that in the playoffs with them. We've seen that in big moments. They don't live up to expectations in big moments. They've got to get better with that. But for the most part, I think the Maple Leafs team's very good. Tavares, Austin Matthews lead the way, led by Frederik Andersen, the goaltender, who I think is an excellent player. Not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team. Look at the numbers. Numbers do not lie. Very good player. Save percentage is very good. He'll get a lot of wins. This is a Maple Leafs team, up and rising, very good team. Number 5 in Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 4, Washington Capitals. Okay, this team I think is just so good. Okay, you've obviously got Alex Ovechkin, Alexander, or however you want to say it, Alex Ovechkin. However, then you obviously have TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom. Okay, I think personally, in my own opinion, those three guys might be the best trio in all of the NHL. Nicholas Backstrom, Alex Ovechkin, and TJ Oshie. I think those three guys together could be the most dominant threesome in all of the NHL. Now, that's just my opinion. Leave a comment down below if you think that as well. Leave a comment down below. Leave a comment down below if you think that. Okay? Leave a comment down below if you think leave a comment down below if you think that them three together could possibly be the most dominant threesome in all the league. I just got this notification, and I'm going to go back to this, but I just got this notification on my phone. Harden trade talks heating up. Nets have offered a massive package of first-round picks and swaps as Rockets shift through finalists. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry. Harden trade talks are heating up a little bit. But yeah, so with this Capitals team, and like I said, comment down below. Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie, and Ovi. I think them three together, I get it, they're getting to their older parts of their career, but I think them three together could very well be the best, even though they're getting even though they're getting older. That's what I personally think. So, number 4, Washington Capitals. Number 3, Vegas Golden Knights. Ever since this team came into the NHL as a, ever since this team has entered the NHL, ever since this team has entered the NHL, obviously they were expansion team. 2-3 years ago? First year they made first year they obviously made the Stanley Cup. They ended up losing to who I just said, the Capitals. Then the next season they did well. Obviously last season they got cut off, but they still made it. And now this season again, they're here again. Okay, this is a team that I really like their goaltender. I think he's one of the more underrated players in all the league. I think he's one of the more underrated players in all the league when it comes down to it. But I really, really like their goaltender, and that is or not their goaltender. I really like one of their players. I was actually going to draft him in fantasy, but William Karlsson, I really like him. I really think he's a very solid player. He's a quick to the puck. He's a quick skater. He's got good puck movement. He can find the open guy very easily. But this team, I feel like every year there's improvement with this team. Every single year there's improvement with this team. Whether that's offensively or defensively, goaltending, coaching, whatever it is. Ever since they stormed onto the scene, every single year, they've gotten better. They've improved. That's how it is. They've improved almost every single year, and I think they'll continue to improve. I'm not putting them number 1 just strictly because I think the two teams ahead of them are honestly better. And also, I want to see this team make it back to the finals. You know, we've seen them make. I think sometimes this team under pressure not too good, but I think every year they've improved. Golden Knights. If we were doing improving teams, Vegas Golden Knights top of the list. I mean, there's no other doubt about it. We're doing regular power rankings. Vegas Golden Knights number 3. Number 2, Colorado Avalanche. Okay, this team's full of stars. Nathan MacKinnon, that's really all I could say. He's an MVP candidate, one of the best players in fantasy, Nathan MacKinnon. I think he is a star-studded player. Okay, this is the definition of a this is literally the definition of a rebuilding team that was rebuilding a couple years ago that is now here today, a Stanley Cup contender, an insane team that is a true contender. That is how this team works. And that's why I'm excited for the New York Rangers. This is almost the New York Rangers. This is their way of doing things. They stunk a couple years ago. They were terrible. And now the fact that they've got McKinnon, they've used some of these young guys, developed them. They're a final Stanley Cup contender. Colorado Avalanche number 2, and number 1. I think this is easy. Okay, Tampa Bay Lightning. You got Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, okay? Them two, Vasilevsky, I think they've got the best goaltender in the league. I think they got one of the best forwards in the league. This team is not fun to play against. This team would not be fun to play against. They won the Stanley Cup last season. You know how I am with that. You win the Stanley Cup, you're going to be number one on my rankings. You know how I work. That's how I work. They're number one. I believe they, at the moment, are the best team in the league. I understand they lost. One player to obviously the injury. He's supposed to miss the entire season. But to be honest with you, I get it. He's gonna probably miss the entire season. But still, I really believe that this is a team that. This is obviously still a team that's just so dominant. They obviously lost Nikita Kucherov. He's done for the season. He's probably one of the best forwards in the league as well. Obviously, they lost him, but still, they have Vasilevsky, Braden Point, and Steven Stamkos. Luckily, I have two of the three of them on my team, so I really like all three of them, and I think it's a very good team. Tampa Bay Lightning round out my list. I just think they're the best team. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. I think they're the Lakers of NHL. They're by far the best team. So, with that being said, that's what I got for the power rankings. That's what I got for the power rankings. So let's just run through them one more time. Number 10, Philadelphia Flyers. Number 9, Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 8, Dallas Stars. Number 7, Boston Bruins. Number 6, St. Louis Blues. Number 5, Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 4, Washington Capitals. Number 3, Vegas Golden Knights. And number 2, Colorado Avalanche, and number 1, Tampa Bay Lightning. So those are your top 10 teams. And now let's get into a little bit of fantasy stuff here. So we got some news on one of my players. So we got some news on Mika Zibanejad. So Zibanejad COVID-19 is expected in the lineup versus the Islanders on Thursday. So that's tomorrow's game. So very good news for not only my fantasy team, but for the Rangers. He is going to be good to go. This is the lineup. Once again, I'll just read it one more time. This is my lineup. It's Mika Zibanejad, Jack Eichel, Steven Stamkos, Artemi Panarin, Braden Point, Anses Kopitar, Evgeny Malkin, Johnny Graduy, Braden Sheen. Sorry if I'm not great with these names. A lot of these names are very tough for me. Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, Jeff Pestry, Duncan Keith, Shea Weber, Nicholas Backstrom, Jamie Benn, Ryan Ellis, Shea Theodore, and Timo Meier. And my goaltenders are Frederik Andersen, Jacob Backstrom, and Cam Talbot. So my goaltenders. So who I've got playing? I've got a lot of players playing today. I've got Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Evgeny Malkin, Braden Sheen, Chris Letang, Jeff Petry, Duncan Keith, Shea Weber. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 players playing today. And then Frederik Andersen will play on Monday. But tomorrow, I assume most of the rest of the league. So we got the Steven Stamkos and Braden Point, obviously against Chicago. I like that matchup. Outside of Patrick Kane, I don't think that team's, outside of Patrick Kane, that team's definitely, not the greatest team out there. But I definitely think it's not. I don't know. I don't really know. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see what happens. But I think I like that matchup. Obviously, like I said, the Chicago Blackhawks don't even make my top 10, and the Tampa Bay Lightning do. So I've got Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Evgeny Malkin against the Flyers. I think that should be I think that's gonna be a fun game to watch. Those are two good teams too. Those are two good teams. Like I said, they're literally right on my list, 10 and 9. So that should be a good game. And then Braden Sheen against Colorado. Then I got Letang matched up with Malkin. He's against Philly. Jeff Petry against Toronto. Let's see. Duncan Keith against Tampa Bay. Shea Weber against Toronto as well. So those two guys are on the Canadians. I don't know why. On the fantasy app, this is so weird. On the fantasy app, it shows... let's see. On this one app I have, on the fantasy app, it shows that there's a game that Monday is the next time the Maple Leafs play. This news came out as well. Anderson will be between the pipes at home versus Montreal for Wednesday's opening night matchup. Jonas Siegel of the Athletic reports. And then Cam Talbot will get the starting nod for opening night against the Kings on Thursday. Dan Mucinono of the St. Paul Pioneer Press reports. Some other stuff. That's really all the news there. So that's it. So that's really what I got. I don't really think, waiver activity and stuff, I don't think you should make any moves there. It's the first game of the season. There's no need to make any moves unless if you despise one of the players that you got or something or whatever. Or if someone on your team, like if you picked up a guy you didn't know he was on IR or something or whatever. But at the moment, I personally, in any league, I don't like to drop players in fantasy football after I give them 2 weeks, 3 weeks usually. And then I drop them. Basketball, I give them about 2 to 3 games, and then if they're still bad, I'll drop them. Because 2 to 3 games in fantasy basketball is about the equivalent to 10 in real NBA. So if they have 10 terrible games, then I'm usually okay, this guy's not real. NHL hockey, or fantasy hockey, I'll probably do the same thing. If they have 5 to 10 games and they're struggling, I'll drop them. But like I said, so I wouldn't make any waiver activities right now. I just don't think that's a smart decision. You just got your lineups. I don't know why you would try to change it. So I would just keep your lineup as it is, unless if for some reason there's someone who dropped, let's just say someone dropped Connor McDavid, and definitely. But I would not recommend making any waiver orders yet. I would recommend staying with your team. If week after the first game, if someone played terrible, that's your decision. But my personal opinion, I would wait it out, see what happens. Like I said, my goal is to win every week. That's my goal. But at the same time, if you lose the first week, it's not like you're gonna it's the first week of many weeks to play. So, you got time. Really that's what I've always said too about not just fantasy hockey, but fantasy in general. That's what I've really said is when you're going into the season, you're kind of going based off of what happened last season. I know Sabanija had a good year last year, so I picked him. Now, do I know he's going to have a good year this year? No, I think so, but that's not true, right? That's what's tough about it. You're going off of what happened last season. So that's why sometimes picking a receiver with a new quarterback could be tough. That's why a lot of times, Amari Cooper and guys like that had down years because they had to go with they've had to go with 3 different quarterbacks this season. 4 different quarterbacks. One week it was Cooper Rush, right? The other week it was, what's his name? The guy from James Madison. I forget his name, and Andy Dalton, and then obviously Dak Prescott. Who is the guy that played? Ben DiNucci. That's it. So players sometimes have down years. But for hockey, you could have a guy that had an insane year last year. This year just doesn't play well. So that's why, too. First week, your goal is to win, but it's also kind of a feeling out process as well. So I hope I win and stuff, but should be good. So that's my hockey lineup. And I'll do the game picks later on in the podcast there as well. So it should be good to go. But that's what I got. Final teams, it goes the Flyers, Penguins, Stars, Bruins, Blues, Leafs, Capitals, Maple Leafs, Capitals, Golden Knights, Avalanche, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's what I got there. Coming up next, NFL scoring. Why was the NFL season such a high-scoring season? I'll tell you a couple reasons why coming up next. Alrighty, so 2020 finishes as the highest scoring season in NFL history. I'm going to read this quick article. Actually, I'll tell you why first. So obviously the NHL, or not the NFL, 2020 finishes as the highest scoring season in NFL history. Obviously, the 2020 season finished with a total of 12,692 points scored, the most in NFL history. Now, this could be for multiple different reasons, and I could bring up 50 different reasons and tell you why each of those reasons could be it. But I'm going to kind of narrow it down to probably about 3 to 4 reasons. Okay, here I go. So it was obviously a high-scoring season, and obviously that means that most touchdowns, field goals, all that good stuff. Now, touchdowns, obviously, touchdowns are usually high. I feel that a lot of these games, a lot of these teams, a lot of these, these kind of stuff, kind of just stuff like that. Like, even in the NBA, you notice over the years that, it's starting to get higher scoring each year. Back then, it used to be 90s or 60s to 70s and stuff. You get to the NBA, now it's mainly 100. That's almost the same thing here with the NFL. It used to be kind of a lower scoring sport, more defense, a lot more run play, stuff like that. Now as the sport has developed and gotten into more of a passing sport, a deep ball sport, less blitz sport, a more zone sport, things like that, a lot more scoring, a lot more yards, a lot more opportunities to put points on the board happen. So this was a very high scoring year, which usually it's pretty high scoring, but this year in particular was pretty crazy. There could be multiple different reasons, but I kind of broke it down to about 3 to 4 reasons. Now, everyone can have their own reason. Refs could be a reason, coaching could be a reason, fans could be anything could be a reason. But I broke it down and gave you my reasons. Here we go. Number one reason, I'm not going to go in order. I'm just going to say, first, a reason that could possibly be is that there were no fans. Now, there were no fans. So, there were no fans. This could possibly lead into more points because there were no fans, meaning players had a lot more time to call hike, players had a lot more time to, communicate with their players. They could change a lot more stuff at the line of scrimmage, which also at the same time could mean how much, this could also mean at time. Now, this is also points too on defense too. So this isn't just all offense. So you could see it both sides, but there were no fans. For the most part, there were no fans. Now, okay, one stadium has 16,000 fans. Not going to make that much of a difference. But still, without any fans, things definitely changed. The fact that you did not have to go up there, really use the hard count much, go up there and, a lot of times you had to go up. No, take that back. A lot of times when you went up there, the hard count was big and things like that. You could really use the hard count and stuff. And, the players also, there was probably a lot less offside. So you were really able to communicate with their players. You were able to change the play at the line of scrimmage. If it's a loud stadium, if you're playing in Seattle and the 12th man is yelling, it's going to be really tough to try to change that play and pick a new play, because all your players are going to have to hear it. But with no fans, the artificial stuff that really didn't make much of a difference, you could change the play. Almost saying, like, whatever the defense ran, you just went against it and it worked. That's almost like it's saying. So in a way, no fans could have really helped. A lot less, miscommunication stuff, a lot more being on contact, communication, stuff like that. Fans could be a reason. Another reason could be that this year there was not that many pass interference calls. This was actually one of the less years for pass interference calls. That, I think, is a pivotal reason. Because you got a lot more pass interference calls, I'm sorry. That, I think, is a pivotal reason. Because with the more pass interference calls, let's just say you're on your own 30-yard line. So you're farther to the end zone. You're on your own 30-yard line. So you got to go 70 yards then. You throw the ball deep. And let's just say it reaches the other team's 40-yard line. There's a pass interference there. Well, it's either sometimes 15 yards from the spot of the foul, or sometimes it's if it happens, close or whatever. But usually it's usually where the spot of the foul is, or 15 more yards from it. Let's just say it's where the spot of the foul is. You all of a sudden get the ball from your own 30-yard line to the other team's 40. So all of a sudden, you just went about 30 yards. You just went about 30 yards downfield, and it wasn't even a completed catch because of the pass interference. That is big, because all of a sudden now 10 more yards, that's in you in field goal range. Instead of you having to go 50, you only have to go 10 now, get into field goal range. That is big too. It could be a 3rd down and 9. You throw the ball deep. Oh, pass interference. You didn't even complete it. But now you're on the other side of the field because of where the pass interference was. That could be one of the big reasons as well. You starting the ball on your own 20 or getting the ball at midfield is a whole lot different. It's completely different. So that could be one of the big reasons as well. Another good reason is I'm pretty sure that the holding penalties were actually down this year. So you might, quarterbacks not getting sacked much, quarterbacks getting sacked less, meaning possibly there's some holding calls that could have led the quarterback to have more time in the pocket, which also could have resulted in a lot more time for the receivers to get open, which could have resulted in a lot more time to throw the completed pass. That could be another reason. Another one could be the refs. Who knows? It could be the refs. The fact that the penalties this season, there was a whole lot more pass interferences, but a whole lot less, holdings. That could be a key too. With all the whole COVID thing, if a ref got COVID or if a player got COVID or whatever, sometimes the refs had to quarantine stuff. So sometimes you'd have a different group of refs, which could, it's actually kind of funny and I don't want to say this, to try to act funny, but it's the truth. Refs actually need to build communication with each other. It's the truth. You a lot of times see the same refs together. Let's just say we got ref number 1 and ref number 2. Well, if ref number 1 is with ref number 2 all the time, you're mainly going to see that. But with this year, with all the COVID protocols and stuff, let's just say one ref out of quarantine, then all of a sudden, we had to bring in another ref. The communication, the play calling and stuff, and the flag stuff, the flag throwing could be completely different. You might have had refs at different positions. That could have been another thing. Some people say it could have been the COVID stuff, defenses or stuff, not focusing and stuff, and like that. There was a lot of times, you had plays like where there was also a lot of times where there was bad defensive play calls. There was a couple really terrible ones. But, to be honest, that's kind of it. That's kind of where I wanted to get to, and that leads me into this article here. 2020 finishes as highest scoring season in NFL history. 2020 brought new changes to all involved in the NFL. What didn't seem to be a challenge, though, was scoring. The 2020 season finished with a total of 12,692 points scored, the most in NFL history. The total also obliterated the previous high water mark by more than 700 points, shattering the former scoring peak of 11,985 set in 2013 and finishing as the first season over 12,000 points per NFL research. With the lack of an off-season program and preseason, there was a lot of understandable concern about the quality of football in the upcoming season. Fortunately, for those who enjoy points on the board, the effect only seemed to impact the defense side of the ball. Standouts in scoring department including Aaron Rodgers' 48 passing touchdowns, Josh Allen led role in Buffalo's explosive offense, which boosted the final scoring total of 56 points. Outing in Week 17, and Derrick Henry, who scored the second most rushing touchdown, 17 in a 2,000-yard season in history. Only 2,000-yard season in history. Terrell Davis took 21 rushing trips to the end zone in 1998. Tom Brady threw 40 passing touchdowns, the oldest player to do so, and only the second to throw 40-plus passing touchdowns with multiple teams. Peyton Manning is the other because, of course, he is. Allen accounted for 45 touchdowns on his own 37 passing, 8 rushing, helping Buffalo finish as the league's number 2 offense, trailing only Rodgers' Packers. 9 teams averaged 28 or more points per game in the 2020, and all 9 of those squads made the playoffs, numbers 10, 11, and 13. Las Vegas, Minnesota, Arizona missed the postseason, while number 12 and number 14, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, both made the playoffs. With a later riding its improved offense to the first trip of the postseason since 2002, ending the league's longest drought. Offense was king in 2020, even with less reps together to sharpen those routes and timing. Is this a sign of things to come, or just a rare occurrence in the strangest of years? We'll have to wait until we kick off 2021 to find out. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. But it's the truth there. You also had a 2,000-yard rushing season from Derrick Henry. And, with the offseason being as weird it is, you would have thought maybe it would have been a little bit of a choppy season. But it is the truth. And like I said, some of the play calling, too, could have been a reason. You obviously had one of the plays where the Jets, you had the deep ball, and they ran an all-out blitz, and that's a point. That's a touchdown. So it's interesting to say the least, but I thought that was pretty cool. And also, a lot of teams, the Bills and the Packers, more touchdown throws than punts. Packers had 48, they had 46 Rodgers had 48 touchdowns. Packers had 46 punts. Bills had like 38 touchdowns or 38 or 45. Like, no, quarterback-wise. A lot of times, this is what I meant. Quarterbacking-wise, quarterbacks a lot of times, two main teams I saw had more touchdown throws than the punts. Bills had Allen 35 touchdowns, 32 punts or something. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, a lot less punting too. And that could have also been too with the fourth downs too. There are a lot more teams this season I feel like took the chances and stuff with fourth downs. And that's another thing too. You saw a lot of quarterbacks this year throwing the ball a ton, which airing it out gives you more yards, more of a chance to gain yards, which results in points. It's all a puzzle piece. It's to connect the dots. It's, okay, well, how could pass interference be one? Well, pass interference results in yards after the play, which results closer to the end zone, which then results more chance of scoring a touchdown or points. Same thing here with passing. Average per pass play is more than rushing. You can get a 15-yard pass play plus the run after catch. That's more yards, sets you closer to the end zone. It's all connected dots. It's boom, boom, boom. It's very simple. Even with the holding penalties. Gives quarterback more time in the pocket, gives the receiver more time to run his route, gives the receiver more time to get open, gives the quarterback more time to read over his options, find the best option, throw it, a lot of yards, boom, catches it, gets closer to the end zone. It's all connecting the dots. That's literally what it is. It's almost like a game. It's connecting the dots. Well, how could this affect this? Well, it does that, boom. You got to connect the dots, right? That's literally what it is. So I thought that was interesting. I just wanted to share that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that was interesting. But yeah. So anyway, now we move on to college basketball. College basketball here. Let's see here. Okay, so let's see, college basketball. Boom, here we go. So yesterday, Kentucky lost 85-65. We really couldn't do much, to be honest. We really couldn't do much yesterday. We really struggled. Boston struggled. SAR struggled. Keon Brooks had a good game, but for the most part, we just couldn't make shots. We really couldn't. We really struggled shooting. It's a young team, and we gotta find a way to pay. We gotta find a better way to do this. So we gotta find a better way to see what happens here. But yesterday, Oklahoma State won, Virginia Tech won, Michigan won. So that's that. Today we got Virginia, Notre Dame, give Virginia the win. Ohio State, Northwestern, give Ohio State the win. Louisville, Wake Forest, give Louisville the win. And Texas Tech, give Texas the win. Yesterday, the Nets played really well. We won 122-116. Pacers won, Spurs won, Lakers won, 76ers won, and Jazz won. But the Nets played really well yesterday. KD was one shy of a triple-double. He had 34 points, 13 assists. And that was pretty solid. 36 minutes as well, but 34 points and stuff like that. I thought that was a really good game for him, and a good game for the Nets. Today we got the Bucks Pistons give Bucks the win. Jazz Wizards give I actually postponed. Mavericks Hornets give Mavericks the win. Grizzlies Timberwolves give Timberwolves the win. Lakers Thunder give Lakers the win. Suns Hawks give Suns the win. Clippers Pelicans give Clippers the win, and Kings Trailblazers give Trailblazers the win. The Nets played tonight as well. They're 6-6. The Nets 6-6. Knicks are 5-6. The Nets come into this game 6-6. Knicks come into this game 5-6. The Nets are 6-point favorites. Over/under is 219 and a half. This game's on today at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can actually find this game on ESPN. So nationally televised game I will definitely be watching. Should be exciting. I actually give the Nets the win here. Love the way we played last night. We're playing against a Knicks team who I really believe is a very beatable team, rebuilding team. Give the Nets the win here. So that should be good. And now NHL game picks. We got today Penguins Flyers. Today's game comes on at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. I give Penguins the win. Canadians Maple Leafs today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I give Maple Leafs the win. Blackhawks Lightning, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. Give Lightning the win. Canucks Oilers, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give Oilers the win. And Blues Avalanche, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC. Give Avalanche the win. So that's that. And Now we move on to fantasy basketball. So today I got, right now I'm winning 438 to 374. So I got Jeremy Grant, Anthony Davis, Yusuf Nurkic, Kyrie Irving, and Jonas Valanciunas. A couple things here. Anthony Davis, he's day-to-day. Davis is questionable for Wednesday's game against Houston due to toe injury. Mark Mendata of USA Today reports. Against Houston, they're playing OKC tonight, and they must have got that wrong. And then Yusuf Nurkic is also day-to-day. Nurkic quadricep is questionable for Wednesday's game at Sacramento. Jamie Hudson of NBC Sports Northwest reports. Kyrie Irving still out. Irving personal is expected to play in any of the Nets three games this week, which includes matchups Tuesdays with the Nuggets, Wednesday with the Knicks, and Saturday with the Magic. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN.com reports. Jonas Valanciunas plays today as well, and Victor Oladipo's day-to-day as well. Oladipo injury management won't play Tuesday game against Warriors. Scott Agnes of FieldhouseFiles.com reports. That was from yesterday. No new news on him. And Butler, COVID-19 protocols still is out there. So hopefully Davis and all them still play. Jeremy Grant's been putting up, but hopefully my team does good. Davis has been playing really well. So that should be pretty good there. But yeah, that's what I got for the podcast here today. Go put that over there. Should be exciting to get hockey back. I'm really excited to watch some hockey. Again, it should be really fun. I'm obviously a big hockey fan, so really good to see that it's back in action, back rolling. So that should be good. But yeah, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.